All right, 7 bowls of chili coming up, said the owner of the restaurant, who had to introduce himself earlier as Johnny Johnson. He handed everyone their chili one by one. Enjoy. Thanks, Ford appreciated. So what are we doing tomorrow? Dusk asked. We don't have a concert. Well, your next concert is in Nashville, Gus reminded. We could either stay here in Chennai for most of the day and make the trip towards the evening, or we could head to Nashville right away and explore the city. Perhaps you'll want to stay here and explore the hotel. It boasts some of the famous guests. Elvis, Winston Churchill, and Bing Crosby, they stayed there. Wow, Nia looked surprised. Really? Indeed, Gus exclaimed. We'll be staying there at the Neverland Plaza. It's an old hotel built in 1931 that's become a national landmark. In fact, Hilton is attempting to strike a deal with them right now in order to buy the hotel. I suppose there's not necessarily much to explore. Perhaps if you wanted to stay here a little longer to appreciate it, it's just an option. I'm all for going to Nashville, Foreign shrugged. We could appreciate the explore the hotel tonight. Luna honestly didn't care if she was going to travel somewhere. She would much prefer to linger here for a while to still have the time to really take the place in. Nashville sounds good to me, Dusk responded. Fine by me, so we're all leaving in the morning then? Bridget asked. Luna felt uncomfortable whenever Bridget spoke now. Perhaps it was her words that still came out non-threatening, but how would Luna know the truth about how truly threatening that nasty crone would be? Yes, we can leave right after breakfast, if everyone agreed, Gus responded, to which everyone nodded. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I've been saving some exciting news for you girls. Hexed has officially made it to #1 on pop radio. That would have been more exciting news to Luna, if not for the crushing revelation that none of it was actually real. With 16,708 plays on the radio this week, Bridget smiled in a cute, innocently perfect-looking way, which honestly made him more evil and sinister to Luna. Knowing that she knew now, oh my gosh, are you? The teenage girl with the red hair gasped. Her face was covered in freckles, but that made her only look more adorable. The Hex Girls? Oh boy, here comes one of the parts of fame Luna hated the most, was being recognized by random people out in public. Her shyness around people was already bad enough, even before she got famous, and this only made it much worse. Perhaps it could be viewed as a bit sad, but Luna always let her others do the most, if not all, do the talking, and sat there quietly, politely. Dusk loved the fame and public recognition, and Form seemed to kind of like it. So why not give him all the attention that Luna didn't want anyway? Yep, that's us, Form confirmed, a light, friendly chuckle. Hell yeah, we are, Dusk exclaimed. Another male teenager joined in the gaggle of teenage girls. Whoa, is that Form from the Hex Girls you're talking to, Lily? And Dusk, too? Luna felt a pain of sadness within her heart, and there was no mention of her. Why wasn't she memorable like Thorn and Dusk? For the first time in all this, she felt a bit jealous of Thorn and Dusk. Why were they more popular than she was? What were they doing that she wasn't? Oh yeah, the keyboard girl too, the teenager noted, looking like she felt back not remembering Luna's name. The worst part of all was that Luna was simply being herself, but apparently that wasn't for the others. Oh, yes it sure is. It's Thorn, Dusk, and Lois, Lily responded. It's Luna, Thorn politely corrected. Before Luna could respond, she was happy that her friend stepped in. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Guess I'm not the best with names. Anyway, can I get your autograph? Lily asked. Calling her Lois was only exacerbated Luna's jealousy. The keyboardist felt jealousy creep into her every part of her body, causing her to feel almost sick to her stomach. She hated the feeling of jealousy in her own friends, but she couldn't understand why people gravitated towards Dusk and Thorn, but not her. Of course, I've got a pen, I think. Dusk reached in her purse and rummaged through the mess to find something to write with. Luna's heart leaped when Dusk pulled out the necklace in her handbag, the same one that was supposed to raise demons. I forgot I had this here. Dusk pushed the necklace into the side, so she took the blue pen out right next to it. Oh hey, you should wear that for the concert for good luck tonight, Bridget exclaimed. You haven't worn it lately. Yeah, good idea, Dusk agreed. We've already been having such amazing concerts, and wearing this might just make them feel more badass. Luna's heart sank. What if Bridget was planning to carry out her heinous plan to raise the demons right at the concert night? Here we are at the 20th century theater, Gus exclaimed in a fancy voice. As the 6 girls approached the theater, the Hex girls were lugging their instruments along with them, ready to go in their theater and set up for the concert. This looks different, Thorne said. Luna was minded to agree with the black-haired goth. It looked more like a movie theater than a concert venue, with a large mosaic prominently featured by the entrance. A large sign read 20th Century ran across the length of the large rectangular pillar, which jutted above the roof building. 4 smaller blue pillars were featured alongside the entrance, but the main pillar, it was on the lawn side. The building looked like it had been a tad less classy than many other places they performed. But maybe that would mean less people? Luna hated performing in front of all those people, so as far as she was concerned, the less people had really far to go play in front of the better. It certainly does, Dusk said. Not as fancy as I would have liked it, but it'll do. Luna rolled her eyes. At least Dusk wasn't making any pity jabs at her anymore, but she still hated Dusk's recent sense of entitlement more than anything. She wished Dusk would go back to her normal self, the one who didn't give a darn about what anyone else thought of her. Is anyone going to show us in? Sam asked. I guess not, Nia shrugged. Well, then I guess we could show ourselves, Gus said. The theater seemed to be quite different on the inside than in most theaters they had performed before. Many of the rooms didn't look traditional concert halls. Rather, they looked like a place where you go for a dinner theater. Each room had a small assortment of tables with white tablecloths around them, all centered around the backstage. Presumably, it would be best where a comedy improv show would be performed. Maybe in the theater would perform later tonight would be such a smaller than their typical venue, and they would have to get back in performing in front of the small audience that she can only hope. I believe it's right in here, Gus said, leading the girls to the end of the hall. Luna shuddered a little bit when she saw it. It looked smaller than the other theaters that they've been in, but it looked like that because there were only more seats even closer together. Oh great, she sighed. Just what I wanted. She was already feeling quite anxious before the show than she normally did. She hated going up in the front of the stage in a large crowd and performing, because she just didn't feel like she could be herself. It was a little nerve-wracking for Luna to perform back even in Oakhaven, but not nearly as bad. She missed the days where she felt like it was just a pre-show jitters prior to the performance, but usually by the end, she found herself getting a rhythm for performing in front of such a large group of people. Now she went from having butterflies in her stomach to an elephant on her chest, and she felt her anxiety was so bad that it was beginning to struggle to breathe. She didn't enjoy performing in front of thousands of people, so she, who also felt less like an individual of people, more than a massive entity for people to laugh at her off stage if she screwed up. Thankfully, Thorne was the lead singer, so people's attention was mostly on her, and her coping strategy had become simply pretending those people weren't there and that she was back in Oakhaven, performing at a small concert of 20 people. Ready to set up, Luna? Thorne inquired. The answer was definitely no. She would do anything else right now, but instead she responded with yep. She tried not to diminish the fun of night performing that her other 2 band members wanted. She wasn't sure if she could handle any more anxiety tonight between the nerve-wracking concert to find out her biggest fans were evil witches. Luna's anxiety was all that it seems to be high time during the performance. She tried to distract herself by getting super focused on the keyboard, but that only made her nervous and that the procession was going to be off. She tried to avoid looking at the gaze of crowd, even though she knew they were truly there to support her. The band's music, she still felt a little amiss and pressure to perform due to the expectations. She hated it more than anything else. I'm a Hex girl, And I'm gonna put a spell on you, Thorn sang. It was just about time for the final line. Thank goodness the concert was over. I'm a hex girl, and I'm gonna put a spell on you. Thorn then sang her final line. We're gonna put a spell on all of you. Luna, Dusk, and Thorn shouted in an illusion as smoke filled the stage. The audience clapped vigorously, with some shouting, whooping, hollering, and intermix. As the curtains closed, Luna braced herself for the inevitable question. She always felt that she was bringing her bandmates down with the answer, so she tried to make it seem that the intense it actually was. Sure enough, Dusk was the first to say it as per usual. Whoa, that was a wicked concert, wasn't it? Then Thorn would usually express a little tad more concern with the situation, while also stating her own opinion. Yeah, the energy was great. How was it for you, Luna? It was decent, Luna said. That was admittedly a lie, but she tried to not be over the top, so it would be so much of as a falsehood. She hadn't enjoyed any of the performances since she left Oakhaven. Thinking about it, Luna felt as if she was getting more anxious with each performance, and with the three biggest fans being witches, only made it worse. Luna kept hoping that it would improve, and that maybe she would go enjoy some touring. However, she ultimately knew in her own heart that she was never going to suddenly enjoy this. She felt shy and introverted, and didn't feel like being around tons of people for long periods of time. Eventually, she would have to come into terms with the fact that she just simply didn't enjoy this format of performing, even if it would break her friends' hearts.